Of course, that is in the eye of the beholder, but it is fair to say that if you are in the Trump campaign and you were looking to stabilize things right now, Governor Mike Pence might have been able to do that. Congressman Dennis Kucinich joining us right now, Trump National Finance Committee member Anthony Scaramucci as well. All right, we've also got the RNC National Finance Co-Chair Mica Mosbacher and, holy cow, Adam Shapiro, all those people. All right, now, in the meantime, I got to get a sense right now from you, Congressman Kucinich. They each talk about getting the message out. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the message, who was more effective getting it out tonight?
I think it's a draw in that way because, you know, but what was different, though, is that Mike Pence had eye contact with the audience constantly, and that's something that Tim Kaine missed an opportunity. The other thing is that Mike Pence looked at Tim Kaine. Kaine often looked away from him. People notice those kind of things. The interruptions that Kaine made, I thought, detracted from his ability to be able to get a message across about what Hillary Clinton stands for. And I think that, in that way, he didn't help the campaign that much. But when all said and done, I think we were looking at both candidates acquitting themselves as the running mates of the principals.
You know, Anthony Scaramucci, I mean, I had it explained to me something like this, that whatever slide the Trump campaign was experiencing, maybe, too early to tell, Governor Pence interrupted that or slowed it or maybe even stopped it. What do you think?
Well, he definitely helped. I mean, I sort of felt bad for Senator Kaine there for a moment because it looked like a wild card game, you know, where the fly ball came to him for the final out. He dropped the ball. And now the game's running, and looks like the other team's going to win on him. And so I thought he was absolutely terrible tonight. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Trump surrogate and all that stuff. It was the petulance of the camera. You know, we both know on television that a lot of television is visual. And I watched it here in Detroit, and I could not believe his facial expressions, the condensation, the anger. And then there was a moment at 10:17, Neil, where it dawned on him, oh, my God, I've been crushed by this guy. And then you could see almost like this capitulation and a real flailing.
I know that's your opinion. We don't know. I mean, we'll see how this goes. But each side
that's
would be
what it looked like
surprised.
from here.
Thinks they're kind of one. But, Mica, from your perspective here, do you think this sends a reminder to Donald Trump, who's actually a very skilled debater? He took away the entire Republican who's who and got the nomination, that there is value in prepping, maybe over-prepping. Governor Pence is famous for just doggedly doing the books, just as Senator Kaine was, that there might be a lesson for Mr. Trump ahead of his debate.
Well, you know, Pence is the yin to Donald Trump's yang, and I mean, Donald needs to be Donald. I do think, you know...
Well, that doesn't mean he doesn't practice.
Well, that's true. I mean, but he's a businessman, not a politician. I do feel he'll be better prepared going into this.
Study, right?
Correct. He'll be better prepared going into this debate in St. Louis. But what I wanted to say is, and I'm dating myself, but I attended the very first vice presidential debate between Dole and Mondale in Houston, Texas.
Wow, 1996.
1996, absolutely. 76.
The first one.
The first one in
gosh.
1976. It was a historic debate, and tonight's debate was very traditional. It was riveting, as you said, and I really think that Pence came across as reassuring, kind of had this doctor's bedside manner, and he was almost at times talking to Kaine like he was a rebellious teenager. Kaine interrupted him 64 times.
Is that right?
Yes, we had a campaign staffer counting 64 times, and the moderator, Elaine, interrupted Pence every time he brought up the email scandal.
I can only ask you this as a woman, so I'll take it. But Kellyanne was just saying that as a woman, she found that offensive.
Yeah, being interrupted?
Well, and interrupting the way she did and the way she interacted with the candidates.
I found it offensive, and I also found that she didn't interrupt Kaine. She interrupted Pence. And once again, I call this the left-wing media mafia, and it's well-deserved when we see moderators not staying unbiased. Don't you agree?
Well, but then it's up to the candidates then to counter for that, if that's your perception, right?
Well, it is, but what I loved about Pence is that he didn't take the bait. He just rose above it and stood on high ground.
All right. Adam Shapiro, we'll grade this and look at all these fineries later on. But I did find my own view is that I enjoyed this debate more than I did the presidential one, taking nothing away from the presidential candidates. But this just kept moving and moving and moving and moving. What do you think?
It did keep moving, and it was very fast-paced right from the start. But look at some of the headlines that are already crossing some of the country's major news sites. The Washington Post, they've been talking about this with the headline that Pence Kaine trade sharp words and interruptions at the vice presidential debate. The Hill, they've got, or the Wall Street Journal rather, saying that Kaine grills Pence on Trump's taxes. And then, of course, there's Politico, and they're saying their big headline is that Kaine struggles to pin Trump's scandals on Pence. But I want to point out to you, Neil, because it's going to be a swing
Adam,
state.
that seems to be a flip read. That seems to be a flip read where the media seems to be favoring the Democratic candidate. I mean, not just the flip ones that you showed me.
Yeah, I would not disagree with you there, but I've got to point this out because, Florida with 29 electoral votes is a swing state.
Right.
Look at what's on the front page of the Miami Herald. This is key. It's the hurricane. South Florida prepares for Hurricane Matthew, prays it stays away. And when you go to their website, it's a picture. You can barely find coverage of the debate.
That's a very good point. Dennis Kucinich, I'm wondering, you have to connect on an emotional level with people in these things. It's substance and style. It's both. Any message for the presidential candidates as they ready for 2 more debates on how they have to comport themselves?
I think that people are looking for presidential candidates to embody a steadiness, a steeliness, an ability to be temperate. They're looking for that, and they're also looking for a compact explanation of what they do when they're president. I think that both candidates still have to prove something with respect to that, and the attacks. We all know where the deficits are with both candidates. But what we need to know is for the candidates to explain directly to the American people what they're going to do specifically, and to do it in a way without denigrating the other candidate.
Well, they're running out of time to do that, but you're quite right on that. Anthony, you're always big in money raising too, and help your candidate out. Would this help Donald Trump tonight?
No, it's going to help, but I mean, the money raising, Neil, really picked up after the last presidential debate. We raised $18 million that day, and we've created a tremendous amount of momentum. And so one other thing about Governor Pence, he's a phenomenal money raiser.
Well, there is that. And Mica, you were noticing that after the last debate, right?
Absolutely. Even though we didn't quite get a bump in the polls, we've gotten a bump in fundraising, and we have fundraisers scheduled next week, including in Texas, which is really a great place to mine money. Always has.
Yeah, he knows that. All right. Guys, I want to thank you all, and thank you for your patience, too. And my thanks to my crew here. They've worked their heinies off. I just sit here and read a prompter. But the fact of the matter is, this is none. 2 big debates down. 2 more to go. The next in St. Louis will be there this weekend. History still in the making. You are watching Fox Business.